Hi, and welcome to episode 48, I believe, of Girlfriends Knitting. My name is Carolyn. I go by Call Shirley on Plurk and Ravelry, and I'm wearing an FO. Okay, so this is my Rocky Coast. No, I do have on a white shell underneath. You just, because of the glare, can't see it. I adore it. I adore everything about it. So I don't have my pattern handy. I forgot that at home today. My sinus meds are working, so I am feeling better, but they're making me kind of foggy. So I don't have the pattern details, but of course all of that will always be linked on the Rav group. Come join us on the Rav group. And so I'll tell you, who the pattern is by, etc., etc. So I do know this is Rocky Coast Cardigan out of the Coastal Knits book. I think I remember the designer's name, but because I'm not sure, I don't want to say. I love the pattern. The yarn is Aslan Trends Del Cerro in the Militaire colorway. I'll stand up a little bit. I have a shawl pin kind of holding it together in the front. It is supposed to hang like this. And that is how it is pictured in the pattern as well. But I don't particularly care for that. I will if I had on something else underneath, or if I was just wearing it to be comfy instead of as my top. So I have my little shawl pin kind of holding it closed. Love it, love it, love it. This is life-changing. Let me tell you why. I learned two things. Number one, I talked about last week, which was learning how to cable without using a cable needle. If you have not ventured into that world, but you are doing cables, please venture into the world of no cable needles. Love it. Love it. Changed from hating cables to loving cables and wanting to cable everything. So literally life-changing. Number two, the felted join. So, you have to have a feltable yarn, of course, in order to do the felted join. But it meant at the end, I had one here, some under the arms, and some at the ends. And that was it. I didn't have tons of ends to weave in. It was great because I would just felt, and this yarn, I'm going to have to be extremely careful washing this sweater because it felted great. So, I'll be very, very delicate with this sweater when I wash it because it felted just magnificently. I did use the needles that the pattern called for. It was supposed to have a little bit of positive ease. This doesn't quite have the positive ease because of my gauge. But I love the fit. The arms, they just could not have fit better. I'm in love with it. I would make the wrists smaller. I would probably have decreased about 8 stitches because I have really tiny wrists, and so I need to start learning to fit the pattern to me. So the bottom is not as big around as I would have preferred because I am bigger on the bottom than on the top. So I really needed a large for the top and an extra large on the bottom. So I kind of, as Amy Beth says, needed to Franken-size this sweater a little bit more, and I needed to go down more on the cuffs because I have a small wrist. So I'm going to have to start learning to Franken-size my sweaters. But I feel confident. I feel like I can do that now. I feel like a sweater knitter. And this is, I counted up my 5th sweater. First one was that Rainbow Catastrophe that I showed off in my very first podcast. The sweater pattern was great. Everything knit up perfectly, except I knit a size too big because I didn't know as much about measuring. and I knit it out of a yarn that had no drape. And so it looks like I'm a football player with these big box, ugly shoulders. But that was fine because I just wanted to practice, and that's exactly what I got, and I got confidence. Then I knit an abalone. Loved it. Then I knit the Gemini. Loved it. But for some reason I didn't feel like I was knitting a sweater. Maybe because they didn't have long sleeves. I don't know. Then I knit Chelsea's sweater for Christmas. It actually was a pullover sweater. Long sleeve, whole 9 yards. And I customized it. But I don't know why. Maybe because it wasn't for me. I didn't feel like I had knit a sweater yet. I now feel like I've knit a sweater. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. This is all I've worked on. There's no other knitting. There's no works in progress because everything else is exactly where it's been for the last several weeks. After I finished this sweater last night, because I got it finished about 6, 7 o'clock last night, I did pick back up the little blue blanket that's all wrinkly because I had it stuffed in my project bag. That is just a Bernat baby jacquards in blueberries. Blueberries. Grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern, except I'm making it bigger. That's all there is to that. I do think that I am going to do something. Let me think. Get foggy brain. Put a crocheted edging around it. Crocheting was actually my original fiber skill. My grandmother taught me to crochet when I was probably 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. And so I've crocheted a lot ever since. But I prefer knitting now. Nothing against crochet. My grandmother has done some amazing work, and I have all over my house now. But personally, I just enjoy knitting more. So, I have the skills, needless to say, to put a crochet border. And I really like crochet borders on baby blankets. And often when I'm doing a blanket, I'm going to crochet it anyway. So, that is the only thing that has seen any progress other than the sweater, because I sort of went on a monogamous kick this week to get this done, because I wanted it done. Why did I want it done? Because, as I have mentioned before, I'm teaching a knitting class, and it's 5 wonderful ladies who come on Saturdays and knit with me for about 3 hours. And we had 3 Saturdays in February, so tomorrow will be our 3rd Saturday. And we are having an absolute blast. I have gotten them very addicted to good yarn. One of the ladies has some orange alpaca, baby alpaca, and she's like been petting it, and she's like, I want to just pet it. So I've gotten them addicted to good wool, so I feel very excited about that. And they are doing amazing things, and I was so excited, and I plurked about it the other day, and Jen's Web said, Carolyn, creator of knitters. And I'm like, I totally love that. So I probably will be stealing that to put it on my business cards. I'm the creator of knitters. Cracks me up. So I'm super, super excited about the progress that these ladies are making. I even had one email me today, and she says, I'm addicted. Yay! That's what you're supposed to be. Very happy with that. So that's what's been going on. In all of this knitting, I have gotten some new podcasts that I have found. Some of them are not new podcasts, but they are new to me. So I'm going to share them with you. The first is the Sheepish Podcast, and she's Sheepish Podcast on Plurk, I know of. And I joined the Ravelry group, but I forgot to look what her name is on Ravelry. And she is super cute. So I highly recommend checking her out. I sort of had a mini marathon of her one day. I then also had a marathon of Swedutch. She's Swedish, and no, she's Dutch, but she lives in Sweden. She is so adorable. She is so cute. Her knitting is amazing. There's several projects that she's doing that I want to do. So again, I had a little mini marathon. I'm not completely caught up yet on all of hers. But definitely you ought to check her out as well. And then the last one, Dawn had mentioned it on her podcast, and so I thought, well, I'll go check it out. And that's Knitiots, and it's a husband and wife, Joe and Rena, and they knit. Joe is a very new knitter, but he's just really doing a lot for a new knitter. And they are just very cute, very adorable. They're very into the SCA, I think I'm saying those initials right, which I do hope they talk more about, because I don't know much about it, but I do find it interesting to hear about. And then lastly, Geeky Girl Knits, and they are doing a hat knit along, and I have some new hat patterns out that you can use for our knit along. Double dipping there, you can check them out, do a hat, all kind of good stuff. And then there is the Remembering Remy, which is the preemie hats. That's going on in Knitting Brooklyn as well. And so the hat patterns, I don't have a preemie size in the hat patterns, but you could, I do tell you what the repeat is. So if you just take out one of the repeats, or take out an inch or two worth of stitches in terms of gauge, it should work just fine to give you a preemie hat. So lots of fun stuff there. So let's talk about the Girlfriends Knit Along. Sent out last week, right after the podcast, patterns to about 7 test knitters. They each kind of got different patterns because I had several. One that I had already published, but I wanted to tweak some, and then 2 brand new ones. Super fast speed knitters. I mean, wow. The only one that has not responded yet to me in some form or fashion was the last one to get the pattern, and I think she only got the pattern 2 days ago. So can't blame her there. Love you all. Thank you so much. So I went ahead and put the patterns online. They're on Ravelry. There are 5 patterns in the Girlfriends Knitting Designs, and you can do any of the 5 for the knit along. And you can go ahead and start now if you want. The knit along is going to go through March 31st. I talked about it being a March, April, but with as fast as they knit these, and they were all telling me, ooh, super fast knit, I thought, well, we could probably do something else then in April. So I'm just going to have it start now and go through March, so March 31st. Let me tell you just a little bit, a reminder of the patterns that are already available. So the first pattern that went up was the Racing Hearts sock pattern. And PJ Allen and I did that one together. And that was last year. Y'all probably remember the Racing Hearts knit along in the summer. That all the proceeds from that go to the American Heart Association. And they will continue to all go to the American Heart Association. So I'll just kind of keep track of how many people buy that pattern, and at the end, send them off a check just like I did last time. And of course I do that as well throughout the year if people buy patterns. I keep track of how many I've paid for and stuff. I have my little notebook and I keep track of that. So coupon codes and discounts do not apply to that because that is a for charity pattern. So I do want to preface it by saying that. Then the other pattern that's been up for a while is the Wisteria Socks pattern. And I'm going to dedicate March as Free Sock Month. So the pattern is free. You don't need a coupon code for March. So it says it costs whatever I put it as. But in March, when you check out, it automatically zeroes that out and says, it's free! So you can get the Wisteria Socks pattern for free. Then the other pattern that I had up was the Cats in the Cradle pattern. And people were telling me that it was working great, but that it was bigger than they were expecting. And so I played around with it some and kind of adjusted the gauge a little bit, figured out what the problem was, and I think it's going to be great now. And my test knitters were saying, yes, it's right on gauge, it's right with what you're telling them now. So hopefully that will be right on. So it is back up, as well as 2 new patterns. So to go with the Cats in the Cradle, I kind of have a lullaby collection theme kind of going. So I have the Cats in the Cradle and then Little Boy Blue. And it's just a very, very simple baby hat with a cable up the side. So that's up. As well as, I've showed you these on the podcast before, my crisscross cuffies. And they are fun. I had fun making them. This is the pattern I'm going to knit again for the knit along. Love it. So, in order to get a coupon code for those, you can get $1 off with the code GFK KAL. So, Girlfriends Knitting KAL. GFK KAL. So, go check out those patterns. Yay! So, I'm very excited about that. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I just can't wait because I'm too excited. Thank you all to my test knitters, and my test knitters, you feel free to enter your test knit as your project on the knit along. It's the least I can do for y'all for test knitting those patterns for me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I think that's all I have to say about knitting. Let's go to some fitness. I have been very good in terms of tracking my food on Weight Watchers this week. I've been very bad in terms of what I've been eating. Last night, I got home. I had been good all day, but I only had 3 points left. And I thought, okay, so I went way too bad at lunch. So I can't eat anything but like fruits and vegetables for dinner. Which, I mean, you could make a whole meal out of fruits and vegetables. But I kind of just said, to heck with it. And I just, it was kind of one of those, unbuckle your belt, pull up the tub of ice cream. Yeah. Not that I literally did that, but that was how I felt. It was like, sure, I'll eat that, sure. So my points are like way out of whack now. I'm loving the barcode scanner, but I do agree with Retro Lemon. I'm kind of using her as my food motivator there. I do agree with her that you shouldn't be really eating a whole lot of stuff that you can barcode scan, because usually they're very high on points, very low in nutrition. So I do have to watch how much fun I have with my barcode scanner. Several of you have befriended me on Weight Watchers. Feel free to do so. I'm Call Shirley over there as well. Again, I'm not advertising Weight Watchers or saying bad things about Weight Watchers. I'm simply telling you what I'm doing. And if you're doing it as well, join me. I need to get off my rear end, though. I did run Saturday morning. I was very excited. Sunday morning, it wasn't happening. Monday, it was storming. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I just got lazy. And I do have this sinus infection, and so I used it as an excuse. But I so could have gone upstairs and ridden my stationary bike. I just didn't. So, got to get off of my rear. And I wanted to say something kind of with that in mind. I've been reading a lot about celebrity and sort of what you see on camera versus what you see behind camera. And I'm not calling myself a celebrity or even a knitting celebrity in any way, shape, or form. But when you watch me, you see my on-air personality. And I do try to keep my on-air personality very genuine. In general, I try to be a what you see is what you get kind of a gal. But we do have to keep in mind that all of these podcasters that we watch and that we love to watch are real human beings. I am a real human being with real faults and aggravate people like crazy. My significant other and I, on the phone this morning, I said, I'm so sorry, do you forgive me? And she said, when I forgive you, I will call you back. So she has called me back. There are no fears, she has called me back. But I do tick people off. I do make people mad. I do have to say, I'm sorry. You all do. Every one of us. We are human. And we do have to remember that what we see on screen, even those of us who try to be as genuine as we can, is not going to always be the person you meet. Does that make sense? I know I heard Amy Beth talking about this in one of her past podcasts, where she said, I'm not this hyper in real life, or at least all the time. And I am very bubbly normally, but there are days when I can just be not nice and not nice to be around. And usually that's when I don't feel well. I tell Amy all the time that she needs to treat me like I'm a 2-year-old. When I'm throwing my little hissy fit, you need to either feed me or put me to bed, because I need to sleep or eat, one or the other, to get over my little hissy fit. And I just want to tell you all again how much I love you, how much I appreciate so much you watching me, and that I love watching these other podcasters, and I can't wait to get to know everybody better in person at various retreats, and several of you I text and talk to that way. And I do kind of figure out, who I am going to form those closer relationships with, because just like you would pick and choose your friends in real life, you kind of are going to pick and choose who you're going to get closer to just based on, outside interests other than knitting and things like that. Or you're doing more with that person. So don't get offended, please, if you are not as close to me as you would like. It doesn't mean anything personal about you at all. And I just want y'all to remember that we're all human, and I personally don't want to be put up on a pedestal, because I will knock it down. and I don't want y'all to be horrified when you see me going, I so will. But I need to get off that soapbox. So, off the soapbox, I forgot something last week that is very important and dear to me. In addition to my lovely blanket, I got a bunny nugget! How cute is that? Evie and Lily on Clark and Rav included that. It's so precious. And so she sits on my desk and keeps me company all day. I hope y'all have a great week. I hope you enjoy watching all of your podcasters. I hope I haven't ticked you off with what I said. And I will see you next week. Bye.